who I have known for a relatively short time, but his title of his presentation by David Jubb is Look 7 Years Younger in 14 Days, Experience Youth from the Inside Out with Cell Rejuvenation, Lifestyle Therapeutics, Reconditioning of the body terrain, increase albumin levels in your blood, and release the human growth hormone naturally. It is truly my pleasure to introduce a fine healer, David Jubb.
Thank you, Thomas. So the microphone that I have here is just for the recording, yes? And this is for the public address. Was I supposed to be here at 1 o'clock?
Yes.
Oh my goodness. I thought it was 2 o'clock. I don't know how that happened. Anyway, I really apologise, and I really hope that the time that we have with each other here, that I really can share some things with you that make sense. Because if you do have inner standing about what I'm sharing with you in this lecture, then it will jive with things you already have an insight about. If it makes sense, then it won't be that I say anything new, really, right? How many people have heard me before in the city or on cable TV? Okay. So most everybody's fairly new, yes? People have called me the foremost naturalist in the country. Is there a way that we can actually... can we take the bass out of this a little bit? Or is that just set? Is this set, is it? Is it set? It is. Because it could be a bit more treble or something. Hello? Testing, 1, 2, 3. Okay. No. Hello. Okay. So, there is no pot boiling in nature. There is no pot boiling in nature. There's not a whale or a giraffe or a snail or a bird or a reptile or an insect or any other life form in the whole of the earth that eats fried food. And we, humans, have only been doing that. Humans have only been doing this for a short while. If we could imagine, let's imagine just for a moment that there's been a pot boiling for us the last 100,000 years, which that's a gross exaggeration, but let's just say that 100,000 years, because that's just nothing. That's nothing. If you and I, we set out and we walked for 3 days, can you imagine how far maybe you would have walked for 3 days? Most of us, on average, we could walk 8 miles in a day. That's fairly easy for most people. Hiking in the bush and stuff, you can walk maybe 8 miles in a day. Just imagine you walked for 3 days solid, and then you took 7 steps at the very end of that journey, right? This is how many steps out of all the steps that you took that we have had a pot boiling there. When that pot is boiling, it changes the nature of that material that is being fired. It's being cooked. Under the microscope, when we look at protein, when it's cooked, it becomes congealed. It becomes coagulated. Enzyme-resistant linkages form in the way that the amino acids are held together. This protein has been very much denatured. The minerals have become ashen, and that protein has become toxic. So enzyme resistant. Some of you might have some notepads. I don't know. This is very amazing. You cook food, the protein becomes enzyme resistant. And actually, under the microscope, when we look at a protein, all the building blocks of protein, they're tiny spherical coils in their colloidal form. It's like a coil of minerals wound very tightly, and that is like the protein. Let's imagine the albumin in an egg. That's the protein in the egg. When it's in its living state, and you look at under the microscope, all the protein substrate of the egg is in this beautiful, small, tiny, round spheres. But then once you cook it, these things unwind. I don't have a board, can I? Yeah. Okay. So when you look at a protein underneath the microscope, so the vast majority of physicians, they never really have studied or looked at living blood, right? And for many years, I did live blood cell analysis before it became really popular. And it was amazing because I just would, people would just walk in and I could just tell instantly how their blood was. I could just look at the person instantly, and sometimes I could even listen to the person's voice over the phone, and I could tell everything about what was going on inside the person's body. And so now I've developed this way of looking at the eyes, looking at the physiognomy of the face, looking at the lips, looking at the tongue, reading the pulses of the fingers, reading the pulses of the wrists, doing a little palpation and a little percussion, and I can tell everything that's going on inside, and I can give a more sophisticated reading than any calibrated piece of equipment. Humans are amongst the finest calibrated pieces of equipment on the earth. There is no more finer calibrated piece of equipment than a human being for sensing what is below the table, what is below the earth, what is below the cloth, and what is inside, going on inside. So when we look at protein underneath the microscope, and I've looked at how Annie and I have looked at how cells move. We've used blue-green fluorescent pigments and used the most sophisticated microscopes to look to see how cells move and things. Never really before have people witnessed some of these things. So under the most sophisticated microscope and things, I'm going to make it large, but it's much more tighter than this. But these proteins, are you could imagine that these are minerals, and they're wound, and they're in a tiny colloidal form. So now, imagine that's how the egg is, or anything actually that's uncooked. And now what happens when we cook this? There's another piece in here. Here's another piece in here. And eventually, what happens, it becomes impervious to water. And the water is no longer miscible in this. And it becomes solid. It becomes not miscible with water. You could hold water in that, matter of fact. But you could not hold water in this. But you can hold water in this. So I'm just using this as an example because eggs are very detrimental. Now, I might say some things about your favourite food. A good friend of mine, when I first came over here to this country, Virginia Livingston Wheeler. Has anybody heard of Virginia Livingston Wheeler? Woo, that's amazing. All right. She's probably one of the foremost people in the world having insight into autogenous vaccination, meaning that she would culture things from the person's body and then she would give them back their own immunity. And she did very well. But anyway, a good friend of hers was a fellow who knew Royal Rife. And Royal Rife invented this piece of equipment that electronically could tune into things below the level of a cell electronically and discovered that there were things happening there that were seemingly invisible, and discovered that there was these spores that are the very building blocks of bacteria, and that these bacteria are the building blocks of a mold, and the mold is the building block of a fungus, and the fungus culminates in its most advanced form as a yeast. Now, most people are unaware of this in the medical schools. They are teaching a lot of false doctrines. A false doctrine called monomorphism is the belief, and it's a belief, it's not empirical at all, that a virus is a virus and it simply remains unchanged in this form and does not and is not a building block of a bacteria, which it is. When they do these PCR tests, the polymer chain reaction test and things, it is not a definitive test for any virus at all. And there is no definitive test for the HIV virus. The Western blot and the ELISA tests are just crap. They do not test anything, and I do not know of a single physician who knows how to interpret that crap. It's junk. It does not draw any virus or whatsoever. I wish I could have a little time to share with you what those three tests are, but they're not definitive tests for viruses. The people who do them, they are unaware that a virus is a building block of a bacteria. Robert Gallo, you'd think that some of the top virologists in the country would have this insight, but they have never studied living blood. They have never studied nutrition. It just doesn't make sense to me that somebody can come along and say something is the cause of something, but they really haven't studied nutrition. It's like those people who wrote those recent books, popular books, The Four Blood Type and The Zone. Both authors have a small insight, small, but very misleading information in there. And the answer to the questions that people have are absolutely unanswered. Both authors, it's very interesting, that when you go, like me, if you're sophisticated, then you'll go to the back of the index and you'll look immediately in there, is this author aware of enzymes? Now, I studied nutrition for many years at the university, and I've been having this practice the last 27 years, and I've seen enormous array of people heal. I feel like we do have a true healing therapeutic, and the vast majority of things may not necessarily be true healing therapeutic, because it is less than a process of you changing your ways and me changing my ways, because this is a true healing therapeutic. So when I would have just eaten dead food, cooked dead food, I would say life begets life and dead begets dead, period. If you want to have life, then we need to bring life in. If dead is the case, then it's dead food. So life begets life and dead begets dead. There is no life force in cooked food. There is no life force in flesh. There is no life force in starch. They are drugs. Virginia Livingston Wheeler discovered, as Royal Rife did, that chicken is a walking fungus. Chickens are walking fungus, and they are full of the BX virus, and it doesn't matter whether it's range-fed or not. They're full of the BX virus, and if you ever work with carcinomas, you would stay away from chicken, because carcinomas mostly are the BX virus. And if you ever have smelt a carcinoma rotting on a person, and then you've smelt rotting chicken, it's amazing how similar they smell, exactly the same. Chicken is a walking fungus. Eggs are a walking fungus also, full of BX virus. So if somebody would have eaten that egg, that I would not recommend, but they did it raw, they could take that egg, they could blend it into something, and it's perfectly miscible with water. But once it's cooked, it absolutely is congealed, coagulated, and it is a drug. All cooked food is a drug. And you would be better off doing a short line of cocaine than pizza. Many of us. The idea that, it's amazing actually when Americans are asked, what is the number one health food of the nation? What is the number one health food of the nation? Say it.
Pizza.
Did everybody hear that? The number one health food of the nation is?
Pizza.
Pizza. That's right. Did you know when Americans are asked what is the number one health food? The answer comes back, pizza. Why is pizza the number one health food of the nation? Yes, It was? That's right. What was announced on TV about pizza? What? That's right. It's the most balanced because it has the 4 food groups. It has your flesh, it has your dairy, it has your grains, and it has your vegetables. Pizza. So it's a bit, my accent's a bit, oh, okay, could be the microphone too. Yeah, both, a little bit. Okay, I would love it that everybody is understanding the words said. Pizza, that was a pretty crucial word, right? Okay. So that is a major drug, pizza. That is worse than cocaine. That changes people's states. People have brain allergy and cognitive and emotional impairment after doing foods like that. We could not heal whilst we eat starch. Starch is a major drug. Starch is a material which is not managed by the liver at all, and that's a challenge. That's a problem. Should not really bring anything into your body that's not managed by your liver, and starch isn't. The sugar that comes from starch, the sugar that comes from carrot juice, the sugar that comes from dates, the sugar that comes from banana, these are major drugs, and you would be better doing a short line of cocaine than those. Because you would die a small death every time that you do that potato. You die a small death every time you have a slice of bread. You absolutely die. But anyway, be kind and gentle with everybody, right? Because people can get mad as hell if you went home and you told them bread is a drug. Dr. Jubb said bread is a drug. People can get really mad because that can be their favourite food. So life food is food which in a semblance of this food can be found growing wild in nature. Starch can't. You cannot find anything like wheat growing wild anywhere in the world. You cannot find anything like corn growing wild in the world. Cannot find beans like people are eating growing wild anywhere in the world. All starches, the banana also that most everybody's eating is not the original banana, and it doesn't have hardly any seeds in it. It is unable to reproduce itself. It is full of sucrose, which is a disaccharide sugar, which we've biologically evolved not to have the ability to be able to manage. And so when those foods are eaten, it would have raised insulin, and insulin, then you can kiss human growth hormone goodbye whilst you have a slice of bread. There can be no human growth hormone working in your body whilst you have any insulin whatsoever. Anything you do that raises insulin, you can just kiss, goodbye, your ability to have any protein synthesis at all. All you can do is age. We need human growth hormone for DNA synthesis and for protein synthesis of the cell that requires human growth hormone. And whilst you do bread, rice, wheat, corn, carrots, beet, potato, banana, dates, cannot have any human growth hormone. The two don't mix. So we witness actually aging, and there really is no such thing as aging. There really is only disease, and the evidence shows this. The evidence shows that it's possible for us to rejuvenate ourselves enormously, a lot more than what we ever thought. It's quite possible for us to live much longer, all of us, and everyone in the room here. There's no excuse. All of us should have ease of ability to live to 100. There absolutely is no excuse. All of us today in the room here, all of us have ease of ability to live to over 100, and then some of us quite possibly live much longer than that. But the thing is, the quality of life, and whilst I ate foods which ended up as sugar in my blood, especially starch things, because that's how that happens, but sugar from an orange, no. Sugar from a pear, no. Sugar from an apple, that's fine. Most of all the other fruits are fine. That is a fructose, and this is managed by the liver. the liver only releases into the bloodstream what sugar is needed. But when you eat starch, there is no regulation. The liver does not regulate that. That piece of toast comes in, and it masquerades right past the liver. The liver does not even recognize it as a sugar. It's called a runaway sugar in the body. And this causes fibromyalgic conditions. If you're bending over for a long period of time and you go to stand up and you're kind of really a bit stiff, or if you're folded up and then you go to straighten yourself out and you're a bit stiff muscular-wise, we have a condition of debris in the body. And this process that we've evolved has evolved over the last 27 years that I've been doing this practice. And it's eclectic. I just have witnessed many, many people. I've seen what happens to people's blood from what they eat and things. The vast majority of every person who ever comes to me, everyone, no matter where they've been, whether they've been to the Hippocrates Institute or Lemon Grove or any of these places that are amongst the very finest in the country, every single person that ever has come to me still has their bile stones. They do not know, they're unaware of how to cleanse. You have to go to the very top of the mountain to start there. And this is called upstream cleaning. Can you imagine if we want to clean a stream and we were trying to clean it downstream? Could we clean the stream if we go to clean it downstream, down here? No. What will happen if I wanted to clean the stream, but, I was cleaning down below? What's going to happen? Yeah, it's just going to keep getting dirty. Why? Yes, because everything above is just going to be coming down. I'm going to clean it here, and then everything above is just going to come down and sully it. You have to go to the very top of the stream if you want to renew this stream, this river. You have to go to the source. We have to start there. We have to clean there, and we work our way down the stream. Does this make sense? Does this make sense? Yes. All the colonic irrigations and things like this can have some small help, but that may stop the person from having a good ability to empty their bowels afterward themselves. Because this requires bile. Bile. You have to have bile to have proper peristaltic activity. If you don't have bile flowing, which most of us don't, most of us in the room here, on average our liver function is about maybe 35-40% on average. So all of us, it's possible to have 100% liver function. How can we have 100% liver function? We have to empty the garbage can, which is the trash can of the liver, the bile bladder. You have to empty that out so then the liver can empty itself like it should. This is the factory irrigation sewer treatment facility of the body. This factory irrigation sewer treatment facility has to be working, for the whole of the body to function properly. So, as you're listening, it would be wonderful to be kind and be gentle, with yourself where you are. There is a way to go about this, and I would do a 14-day LIFEFOOD nutritional fast. And you don't need to go see me to do that, not really. If you would love to, you can. You could pick up a handout on how to do a LIFEFOOD nutritional fast, and that you feel confident enough to do this yourself and you're a good reader, it's quite possible that you could go ahead, you could follow these instructions, and you could have a successful flush. It doesn't really require anything much, and that I can give this to you. There are a few products and things that are not necessary, but if you wanted to have those, then you could. But it could be designed in such a way that no matter where you are with your financial situation, that you can help cleanse yourself where you are, and that you can do this program and you don't have to have spent anything much. All that you really require is your willingness to change and your willingness to have better health and do something about this. What I do is I do a quick reading, which takes about 5 minutes typically, and then in the rest of the time that we would spend with each other, we work out a program. I look and I see, how's your upper stomach doing? Is it overactive or underactive? Or is it just excellent? How's your pancreas and your spleen and your liver function? Are they just perfect, or are they underactive, or are they overactive? All of these kinds of things can affect the program a little bit, but basically it's been written, no matter where somebody is, it's possible for you to be able to get a great benefit from doing this program. What is this program? So this is really congealed. That's really congealed, and this is a protein in its really good form here. Okay, so now what is life food nutritional fasting? Fasting is the absence of something. That's what fasting means. So it's no solid food. Now, we blend food. We don't juice. Juicing is not a whole food. Juicing burns people's pancreases out. People end up doing too much juice. People end up with too much water in the intestinal tract. And people end up without enough fiber to help pull bile out of the intestinal tract. And people can end up eating 10 oranges that they juiced when if you blended it, you could only eat 2 or 3. Juicing is not a whole food. So you can do some juicing, but most juicing that is done chronically causes people to have excess water in their intestinal tract, and most of us may have a condition already of having excess water in the intestinal tract, and that's causing low amplitude of electricity and other things, because we don't have the hormones, aldosterone, to help move that water out of the intestinal tract. We don't have aldosterone to help move water out of between the cells of our body. So it's blended food for the most part, really. Some juicing, but it really is blended food. So that's what this is. This life food nutritional fasting is blended food. We blend because we don't have teeth down here in our stomach. And the vast majority of people, that if you would chew your food 200 times, then you could do it with your mouth. You could do this with your mouth, and you don't need a blender. But most people would not, sit and have a meditation and drink it thoroughly. There are particles of food which have to be that small. Can everybody see that dot? You can hardly barely make it out. Anything that's, that size, which you can see there now, that dot, that's too big. We don't have teeth in the tummy. And so we blend food to give the stomach a rest. We give the stomach a rest. We give all these workers a vacation down here. And so we bring in things which help satiate somewhat, which helps move the bile out of the intestinal tract, to help have a proper cleansing. We bring in the things which are blended whole, because then they've got all your B vitamins and everything for managing blood sugar. This program is designed for people who are diabetic and for people who are hyperglycemic. Programs are not designed for people who are diabetic or hyperglycemic, but this is. There is nothing coming in that requires insulin in comparison to what most people are eating regularly, because life food does not really require much insulin. So no solid food, no cooked food. There's no cooked food because cooking destroys the enzymes, it congeals, coagulates, causes enzyme-resistant linkages to form, and another thing, which we didn't say, the minerals of that protein become more and more ashen, and they less than keep their covalent form of having the ability to be able to be blended, to be joined with other elements to make up the putty, the building blocks of our cells. Whilst it's in its living state, in its life food state, it has a biotic electrical force which can rearrange it. That substrate material can be incorporated into many things of our body. But when it's cooked, it no longer has that force, that biotic force, where it can be biologically transmutated into other elements and things in our body. So it's no cooked food because there are no enzymes, and enzymes are very important for the metabolic process of cleansing and clearing debris from the body and rejuvenating and causing respiration, proper cell respiration. If we cook the food, the antioxidants are gone, the vitamins are gone, the enzymes are gone. Enzymes are very necessary for vitamins to have their proper function in the body. Okay, so it's no cooked food because we need to give the body a rest and we need to bring in material which will give energy but not take any energy at all from the body. So no cooked food. No flesh. No starch. And no break fast. No breaking your fast. No breakfast. No breaking your fast. Break fast. Yeah, no. This is where it comes from. Yeah, right, break fast. That's where the word comes from. See, this word is fairly new in English, and it came about more in the Industrial Revolution. Break fast. The word break fast came because before that point in England, where this language comes from, and other places too, people really didn't eat break fast. They didn't break their fast. It was a well-known fact that if you got up in the morning, and you were rubbing your eyebrow, and you went to the icebox and started tucking into things straight away, it's like, why is that? Why after resting and not having done anything whatsoever is this person hungry and they have to eat? What this does is when you don't break fast, it causes the stomach to rest. It causes the intestinal tract to rest. Now it might never have rested, and it only can rest after defecation. So defecation has to occur, and then the intestinal tract is possible to rest. If you have feces, you defecate and then you start eating, there is no rest for the intestinal tract at all. And many of us have never given these little workers down here a rest. They need a vacation. We need to vacate I, and so self remains. So no break fast, no breaking your fast. Nutrition starts to come in once the sun is a little bit past its zenith point, meaning it's past the noon, and then start to bring things in. But we should do what we can to bring something fresh internally first. The very first thing in the morning is put something fresh in here. Put a little fresh water in if you love. Or I drink my own urine if I have any. I drink a little of my own fresh urine, and that's the most delicious beverage I drink. So put something fresh in here first. Water is not as fresh as urine, and urine is very powerful, and water is absolutely nothing in comparison to it.
But it's not having, when one gets up in the morning and one goes, say, if one gets at 7 o'clock or 6:30 and goes until 12 o'clock, noon, or thereafter, waiting those 6 hours before one eats anything, isn't that sort of having one go in the direction of hypoglycemia?
Quite possibly. Okay, all right. Let's. That's a good question. That's a wonderful question for people listening to this tape and people in the room today. Okay, so just to repeat this so the people on the tape can hear. Basically, the question is, well, what about people who are hypoglycemic and unless they would have had something, they're not going to make it? If hypoglycemia is present, it could be disappeared fast. We heal diabetes like that, and we heal hypoglycemia like that. What causes the hypoglycemia? The last meal you had. If there was starch in the last meal you had, then you're going to have hypoglycemia until you have your next meal. There's no question about it. You're going to have hypoglycemia. You have a banana, there is no question about it. You will suffer from hypoglycemia. If you want to do really well in an exam at school, stay away from muffins. Stay away from French fries. If you want any of us want our children to do really well at university or at school, wherever they are, then you should remind them, stay away from muffins and bananas and stuff that's going to end up as sugar in your blood, because you won't have your brain after that. You absolutely don't. And this research shows that you don't. We cannot really think very well after eating starch and bread and things like this. It can immediately cause us to have a little sugar in our blood, which makes you feel a little better, perhaps, but afterward, that's it, you see. So, so just in answering the question, I might need to be kind and gentle with myself where I am. That's very important first. And I have to ever be aware that this condition that I have is due to my last meal, and it lasts as long as my last meal. So if my next meal that I have has none of that stuff in it, then I wake up in the morning and actually I'm quite surprised that I feel good. So now I've been not eating since 1995, and I kind of have discovered this, that you don't need food. So I don't eat. I don't eat at all. We have a question up the back. Urine. Do you know what that is? Pee. Yeah, pee. There is no other fluid that is more amazing than something that's come from your body. Something came from a tap, absolutely, robs things from the body, but urine won't. Urine absolutely gives things enormously. When you drink that water, it has to become structured. Eventually it gets into your blood, and then when you pee it out, man, I swear that is amazing. That is really, something really has happened to that. When you drink, you'll pee out what you drank. Why? Because there is this homeostatic mechanism in our body, and when you drink something, you actually have to keep an equilibrium, and if 20 minutes after you've drank that, you'll pee out about the volume that you drank.
But if we're not well,
then I very much would recommend urine for people who are not well, especially, because there's everything in the urine. You don't need any supplements or anything if you bring in your own urine, because there are the amino acids, there are the vitamins, there is enzymes, there's cell salts, there's pigments, there's anti-neoplastins, there's anti-mold, anti-fungus, anti-yeast substances in there, there's hormones in there. Well, if you were in the desert and you did not have anything, I would say drink every drop, because then you'll sustain yourself for a long time. And the more that, if you were interested to do this, I could say that you'll add 20 years to your life, just that by itself, and I could make a bet with you here. I could bet, maybe a couple $100. That would make it exciting, or maybe more, because we could just find anybody amongst us that just volunteer right now, and I could bet $300, or make it more, make it $500, because make it a bit more exciting. I can give this person a program for 7 days. We can count how many seconds they can hold their breath right now, and I'll bet you in 7 days we can have them hold their breath 3 times longer. Right, with a small program of increasing the oxygen content of your blood. When you drink your own urine, that is one thing that I might have you do, because that will increase the oxygen content of your blood enormously. Oxygenation occurs on several fronts. First of all, because urine really is a lot of electrons, enormous amount of electrons. You need electrons really to run the system. And urea, which is in urine, has a very intimate relationship with albumin in the body. Most people have not the right uric acid in their plasma. They have a lot of uric acid in their tissue, but not enough in their plasma. And so when we bring some into the plasma, it is by itself a way to help raise albumin modestly. Albumin is a super transporter that transports all the nutrients, all electrons, all cell waste away, and all nutrients to the brain and everywhere. And by bringing more nutrients in, it increases the more electric tension on the cell membrane and causes the cells to be able to absorb more. Okay, look, there's so many fronts we could talk about this, but I'll just share one more thing. It increases the carbon content of our body. Carbon is very necessary at the present moment because 2 million years ago, 37% of our atmosphere used to be carbon dioxide. Today it's only 0.035%. Most people are over-breathing, and most respirologists are unaware of the integral importance of carbon dioxide. It is as important as oxygen. You cannot live without carbon dioxide as you can't live without oxygen. So when we bring in our own urine, it helps bring in components that helps bring in more carbon into the body. That holds our magnetic force, and that helps, by itself, helps oxygenate the body. And then the other thing it does is there's a carbon dioxide dissociation, oxygen dissociation. You need carbon for oxygen to dissociate from the hemoglobin. So you need carbon in your body to be able to have proper oxygenation. Carbon dioxide is a smooth muscle dilator and dilates and opens everything up. Uricase is an enzyme in urine which with an ounce of uricase, Sandoz and companies like this, pharmaceutical companies, they collect all the urine off the porta potties on these building sites and stuff, right? They don't tell you this, but they collect it all because there's such valuable stuff in there. It's unbelievable, right? They make the most potent antivirals from urine. They make the most potent substances for opening up the arteries from urine. And guess what? It's way better fresh. When they isolate it and they do all that kind of stuff, it doesn't work quite the same, but it is the most powerful antiviral, right? Still. And urine is way more powerful.
Before I go on this urine kick, it does seem to me that part of your premise is that the body does filter things, it does digest things and so forth, and we have certain things in our bodies. Something like bottle or something. Basically, it seems to me that there's certain regulations of when we eat things. There's breakdown of food, which is solid food. There's breakdown of all this particular type of food. Like you said, the urine comes out, and we have a certain refined product.
Yes. Yeah.
But I mean, that's
Why is it excreted?
part of your premise is I question
Okay.
no solid food
Oh,
and so forth. I mean, we know we take food in, with certain breakdowns in our stomach, breakdowns
Oh.
in our liver and so forth, and it seems there's a turn on and a turn off. We know that there's a balance between what is taken in, intercellular, and extracellular, and so forth. But what I'm basically saying here and so forth is that the premise of no food, no solid food, nothing along this line is questionable because of all basic principles that we've been taught all our lives.
yeah. For the people listening to the tape, it's possible they might not have heard all of this. But there was a question about why not solid food. Well, one thing is, on this life food nutritional fast, no solid food simply because people might not have a habit much of really breaking food down properly. And when food is not broken down properly, there is no teeth in the upper tummy, and then enzymes would have to be called forth into the upper stomach to break this food down, and those enzymes then are no longer available like they can be for the metabolic processes of the body. We gain such a great reprieve of energy by introducing food in a form that the body's able to get all of its energy from this, and it doesn't really cost the body anything. Now, the person at the back that had the question about solid food, that's a good thing. You know, you have to chew everything you drink, and you have to drink everything you chew. Food tends to be presented more in a form that's in its more solid form. We have to liquefy it, we have to drink it. And that's very important, that's all. So if you're drinking something that has been blended, that you ordinarily would have chewed, you still have to chew it, because it has to be mixed with the parotid hormone and things.
What about semen?
Semen? Yeah?
Yes. You're talking
Right.
about urine
Right.
as being a nutritional.
Yes.
And
Right.
what about semen?
Vaginal fluid and semen and saliva, all of these things, it's quite possible to get a benefit from. There's a subtle exchange of energy that happens, and there's as much hormones in one's saliva as there is, in any other fluid. For the adept, it's possible for someone to make use of that.
And there's a yellowy
be like fresh water. And yet, if a person was drinking beer and potato chips, they would have a vile-smelling urine.
Yes.
And are you saying that no matter what the consistency, it's all good?
Okay, that's such a good question, right? Because, like, let's imagine that somebody really is in a state of not such good health, and then I did things. Let's say I did chemotherapy, which that's a poison. That's called mustard gas, and that's the very same people who produced that mustard gas in the Second World War. The very same people who are producing this today. They just call it something else, but it is mustard gas. That's what it is. So it shows that even when somebody's brought mustard gas in, that's the most toxic bile substance you could ever bring in your body, that's definitely going to cause you to die. Research shows that people who drank their urine, they fared much better than the people who didn't, because there's antitoxins in the urine. There's antitoxins in the urine. So what's your name?
David.
David. Okay. There's micronutrients, David. There are micronutrients which is in a homeopathic dilutions that's in your blood that can alert your body to a general condition that might have been local, and it causes the body to muster its forces to be able to help heal things up. So no matter what, it is possible to heal and help yourself heal by bringing in your own urine, because it has the antitoxins and things in it. But basically you always will hear this: if you're on chemicals, then this is dangerous. If you're on chemicals, get off chemicals, because that's dangerous. Period.
Now, when you say that in drug, the person is under a medical...
You'll notice that that person would you need much less medication. And they'll actually be conserving things, and they'll need much less poison. Most of those medications are poisons, actually. And they all, in the future, will be listed as poisons. And we will look back and see, oh my God, this was such a barbaric era people lived in. There is a revolution that's occurring on the earth at the moment, and it's a biological revolution, and it's a movement away from chemicals. Chemicals are not biology.
If you have an acute infection of some sort, what value is urine?
Okay, wonderful. If I have an acute infection, what value is urine? It's anti-inflammatory. It will cool the inflammation. I've had people who had third-degree burns, and thank God they had a little stale urine, because we got that stale urine. We dipped it in gauze. We placed that immediately over the affected area, and instantaneously there was no sensation of pain. Instantaneously. Right? That's how this happens. There's a lot of hormones and things there. Now, most of us do have an inflammation. Whether you can actually mount it now or not, most people who are precancerous have got to the place now that they can't have an inflammation. And so when people present with the condition of neoplastic cells and things, that's the very first thing that we do with the person, is cause them to get back their inflammatory condition. So most of us in the room here, we do have inflammation up and underneath the rib cage. Every person here has bile stones for sure. On average, there might be 1,600 bile stones on average. Bile stones. But yeah.
I just wanted to share with everyone that when I was younger, when I was a child, my brother was a hitter. And he always said, if you have pimples, urinate on a washcloth and put it on your face. It always used to work.
Yes.
And I used to think that young, but now
No, I don't waste a drop. I like to wash and use, because it's so antibiotic and antifungal, anti-yeast. It helps clear the eyes. It helps raise your intelligence, because it raises albumin, because it raises your hygiene. You need good hygiene. The most virulent bacteria within 100 miles of you is right there underneath your thumbnail. There is no more virulent bacteria in a 100-mile radius than there is underneath your thumbnail. We could search and search with microscopes right throughout the whole of the hotel, and here we would find it under each person's thumbnail, close to them. The most virulent bacteria on the earth is underneath your thumbnails. When you put your nails into your eyes and things like this, you put your nails into your nose and all of this sort of thing. This is called auto-inoculation. And this auto-inoculation causes people to live a shorter life because it just perpetually is a load on the immune system. So this life food nutritional fast really is designed, and it really is designed to buffer shock. We bring magnesium in often. We bring progesterone in because those two things work together, and most of us need progesterone and magnesium. There's a few supplements and things that we need, that we generally recommend to help people through things. Sodium, when you bring sodium in, it helps quieten the adrenals down. When you bring sodium in, it helps increase the blood volume, because many times over, a person can have had a condition of eating and then being thirsty. If you ate and then you felt thirsty, it means that you were poisoned. You lost a lot of fluid from your blood volume. There was not enough blood volume for the heart to beat properly, and then it had to bring energy into the heart to work. Otherwise, it doesn't require bringing energy in. When the heart stretches enough, adenosine triphosphate, which is the energy molecule, is produced inside the mitochondria of the heart cells. But if the heart is unable to stretch properly because you don't have enough sodium, in your blood, plasma, and that you ate something and it caused you to lose your volume, then that is a condition that many people suffer from. Little things that's on this life food nutritional fast is very important. Leaving something out and it won't work quite the same way. But certainly there are many ways to do things. And this has come about as a result of a witnessing of people going through this program for some 27 years. What kind of foods can we blend? We can blend anything as long as it's not flesh or cooked or starch. You can put anything in the blender at all as long as it's not starch, flesh or cooked. We have some life food recipe books at the booth, and if you're feeling like you'd love to learn more about what life food is, you can pick up a life food recipe book. Well, urine, when we first taste urine, it tastes a bit like seawater. If you imagine just like taking a big old gulp of seawater, it tastes a bit like that. And initially, it might seem a little strange perhaps, but most people learn to love this actually. And eventually some people will tell you that they really look forward to it. And it is really delicious. Because I don't drink and I don't eat, if I do drink a little, then I will pee. So that's the only times I pee. Otherwise you don't have any body excretion. Finally, if you don't eat and you don't bring anything in, then there is no more body excretions. Yes, about 1 year old, physically. Most of us would be surprised to know actually that you are about 1 year old, actually. Some of us might be maybe 2 or 3, but most of us are about 1 year old physically,
What is your age?
1. Physically. You'll notice that the less you eat, the less you need. The more you eat, the more you need. You'll notice that when people do this life food nutritional fast, that they walk into the store and it's the first time that they walk around and they walk out empty. And they did search and they were genuinely searching for something. But they left and there wasn't anything in there.
Are you a breatharian?
Yes, you could say I'm a breatharian. But, one thing that I have had some honey, and I have had honey, so you couldn't say that I'm a total breatharian, but most breatharians that I know are living a little this way, and they do taste things. I taste things still occasionally. Taste it, but that's it. What I would do is I would put anything in the blender as long as it's not starch, flesh or cooked. So that's a lot of stuff. Yeah, no, starch. That's starch. And beet is starch too. Yeah, right. All the grains, starch. Dates are starch. Pineapple is starch. Kiwi fruit is starch. Okay, everything else is fine. So there's such an array of foods beyond the foods we just mentioned, right? But it is amazing that the foods we mentioned, guess what are the two favorite foods in America? Potato and bread. Potato and bread. Oh, no, wait a minute. Banana. Banana's right there. That's really close as well, right? These are the foods that most everybody's eating enormously, and they are absolute drugs. Banana? Oh. Oh. All of the enzymes from inflammatory condition of the liver quieten and calm down, and all the liver enzymes return back to normal. Yes. Whether you have hepatitis C, B, no matter what, I get people who the doctors have totally let go, and we heal them up from hepatitis C and all kinds of stuff, because hepa meaning liver, itis meaning inflammation. What is hepatitis? Simply an inflammation of the liver. It is not what modern medicine thinks it is, a viral infection. That is bull dust. It is a blocked bile bladder, and the liver is unable to empty itself. That is the major reason for hepatitis. Clearing away the bile stones clears the whole thing up. Yes, they do. No matter where somebody is, just about. Liver especially. Okay, so now most of us would probably need to do 5 or 6 14-day nutritional fasts to get rid of your bile stones. Because most of us on average, we have about 1,600 bile stones here. So we continue on, and we learn things on the LIFEFOOD nutritional fast, which we incorporate more. We learn to eat lighter during the day, and learn to eat our heavier meal at the end of the day, where we have a bit more time to rest and this sort of a thing. Okay, how much time do we have, Thomas? I want to make sure we make use... At 3:30, so what is the time now? Okay, so we have 20 minutes?
We lost some time, David.
I know. I know our attention span's only 20 minutes, usually. Would you love me to share a little music with you for a second? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, about food combining and blending. No, not on this diet, because everything goes together. But if you eat starch, starch doesn't go with sugar. If you eat starch, starch doesn't go with flesh. If you eat starch, starch doesn't go with fat. Starch doesn't go with anything. So when you do your food combining, you ever become aware, starch doesn't go with anything. Just if you let the starch go, everything combines more so, especially blending. Millet, quinoa, and amaranth are seeds. They're not grains. Some people call them grains, ancient grains, but they're actually seeds. Seeds are fine. Grains are out, though. Grains are hybridized, and grains are a disaccharide sugar. Rice is out. Rice is a drug. Yes, are okay. Millet, quinoa, amaranth, sesame seed, pumpkin seed, flaxseed. It's better that we would sprout it. Would learn how to sprout it. But if you're in a process of transition, you could learn to low temperature cook things in a thermos or something. Okay, we've got a couple of questions. We'll come over here.
If you don't mind, your argument seems a little strange because it's obviously some sort of excretion. Not to get disgusting, but
Yeah.
what about all the
Feces.
excretion?
Yeah, well, humans are designed more to be coupled. It's not possible to get down there with your tongue. But couples, we are designed to be coupled a bit. There is an energy actually that's circular. They collect all the Dalai Lama's feces. They don't waste a drop of that. That's given out to everybody. Yes. When you buy acidophilus and bifidobacterium and fecum and all of this sort of stuff, what is that? Where did it come from? Feces. It's cultured from feces. You need these bacteria. Bacteria are friendly. There are unfriendly bacteria as well as friendly bacteria. Pigs and dogs down south of the border here, where people don't feed the animals much, or if they do feed things on a farm here in this country even, and they give the animal heat processed pellets and stuff, that animal eventually will eat shit. It will eat shit because it'll eat feces because there's enzymes there. In all the labs across this country, they have locked animals up, and it's very cruel. They feed the animals heat processed pellets in all these labs. They only live 2 years on average. In the wild, they would live 9 or 12 years. All the research that's done with these rats is unscientific, extremely. But now, all the rats across the country, they mess their cage up enormously. You know, they kick things around, and they shit and they pee, and they really make a big old mess. Why do you suppose they do this? They do this because of airborne bacteria and enzymes.
So is that something you would do, or something the law would be?
I would bring in Acidophilus, bifidobacterium, and things like this, yes. I would not wash my vegetables and things like that, no, because that phytoplankton is very important, and that's missing in people's diet. That is the very thing that causes you to have proper hydrochloric acid in your upper stomach. On organic things grown, yeah. We're not meant to wash things down and then eat it, not really. You're meant to get rid of the grit off and stuff, but, you know, we just would wipe it down a bit, actually, in nature, and we would eat that on the spot. The idea of people being bacteria crazy, Pasteur sent the world crazy about bacteria. On his deathbed, though, he admitted that he'd plagiarized his information from Beauchamp. On his deathbed, he told everybody, listen, I've sent the world crazy. It's not the bacteria, it's the terrain that's everything. But he had fooled everybody to believe it was the bacteria that was the cause of disease, and it isn't. Beauchamp and other people, Bernard and other people at the turn of the century that were Pasteur's rival, really had the deeper insight. Pasteur just plagiarized his information from other authors and just was a rehash of stuff, that's all, really. And actually, if you're interested to learn more about this, there's a book called Pasteur Exposed. Okay? We can be relaxed a bit more about the silliness of a big old bogey attacking the body. It's not really. Do we have a question over here that parasites? Okay. The first line of defense is your hydrochloric acid of your upper stomach. If you wash your vegetables, you no longer have that force. You thought that you dealt with it by washing the vegetables, but that's untrue. You could never have dealt with it by washing the vegetable. The only thing, the very force, which is the force that stops parasites, is your own hydrochloric acid. Hydrochloric acid is your first line of defense. When you wash the vegetables, you lose that first line of defense because there is no phytoplankton left much.
Well, since most of us have been eating the way we've been eating lately, how do we know that we even have that hydrochloric acid at this point?
Oh, how do we know? Well, I could tell instantly by looking at your eyes, but if you'd like just to look in your eyes in the mirror, you could tell this too. You can look directly around the pupil itself, and if the tissue is darker than the regular color of your eye, it means that you need more hydrochloric acid. If it's lighter than the color of your eye, it means you have an overactive upper tummy. Blue-eyed people tend to have underactive upper tummies, but not necessarily. And people with brown eyes tend to have better upper stomachs.
Okay, so until our eyes are the way they're supposed to be.
Is this supposed to concertina her up? Huh? I just want to come down over the top of the flute. Come back, Dave.
You want it up or down?
Up. Can I get it up, mate? Or maybe you could just hold it like that. Come over here like this. Just hold it.
Hold the mic?
Yeah, because I'll just play for a second.
Maybe the mic would be better.
So you're going to hold it up, so it's hanging down. It's amazing because this is an instrument that's possible for any person to pick one of these up and learn to play it masterfully. This does not require any instruction, and it's possible to get something beautiful to come out right off the cuff. And this is the kind of instrument that's like this. So there is no excuse. All of us, we should do what we can to learn to play something masterfully in our life. And maybe this is our voice. This is the greatest instrument, actually. Sound is the food. All rock and roll music causes electrics to be weak. It's a 4-beat which has a pattern like this, right? And you can, I know the people listening to the tape are not seeing this shape. What is the shape of this 4-beat? Square. Square leaks energy. This is a form which leaks energy. When we bring in that shape as a sound, it causes us to leak energy in ourselves. 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, odd beat causes people to test strong electrically. Sound is the food. Light is the food. If I bring in full spectrum light, it's likely to allow me to live more in the whole of myself. All deficiencies are caused because what I brought into my body, which is not a whole food. When I brought in yellow light, it robs and creates, it robs vitamin D from my body. If I did not bring the yellow light in, I would not have a deficiency of vitamin D. Because I lived under a yellow light for a short period of time, it created a deficiency of vitamin D. All deficiencies are caused because what I have done, which was not a whole food. No deficiencies are caused because of what I haven't done. Okay, David?
You don't like cooked food. You don't like cooked food. But do you like the caveman's fire? Do you like gathering around the fire? And is there benefit from the heat of the fire?
Okay. Is there benefit from having that slice of pizza or having that flesh cooked? Is there some benefit? You could say no matter what, there is some positive adaptive reason. No matter what, there is some positive adaptive reason, and that would be wise for us to ever be aware. No matter what someone's behaviour, there is some positive adaptive reason. Eating is a favourite pastime.
No, but the fire in the heart, there's a campfire, that heat coming, people lay in the sun. Is there anything good that comes from sitting in front of a fire?
Oh, of course, and no. Of course, yes and no. See, if I have a situation where I'm aware that I'm cold because the fire made me aware of what could be more warm under a circumstance, I might always be cold unless I have a fire. whereas the Aboriginals in Australia, they have no thought, and so they live in 42 degrees Fahrenheit without a stitch of clothing, and they sleep on the ground perfectly, and they have no thought that they're doing something other than what they should be doing. When there's acceptance, a more acceptance of things is more a oneness. When we bring something in that becomes a crutch, we can start to get used to that crutch, and that crutch can maybe stop me from becoming. And that yet there's such a beautiful flicker of that flame, which is a movement, which is an alpha rhythm, which when we watch the fire flicker of a flame, it causes us to enter into more an alpha rhythm in ourselves. So these are foods. Thought even is a food, David. And then no matter what, even that cocaine, you could consider that to be a food on some level. You could consider bread to be a food on some level. But I would ask us to question what is real food, and the idea of letting things go more this way. Because the more that I have this, the more I have thought up here, and that stops me from becoming. The more I like and I dislike, the more I can have been in my brain perpetually, and that can have stopped me from becoming. The more I like, the more I dislike, the more less than able I am for this door to open up inside ourselves for self more, for us to be more realized of ourself. If I always was thinking of food, when most people spend about 3 hours on average, maybe more, thinking about food, and then some people spend more than that time thinking about sex, and others, all of this stuff can be stuff that's going on in people's brains, stopping them from becoming. We become more when we're empty here. We're more full, living from our heart. We enter into this space where naught has entered, and fresh visions arise from this space. Otherwise, we're just going around getting in resonance with something that we've read or something, and we just keep repeating all of that, and there's no new information. There's new information when we're quiet and still, and we discover things which has been unspoken. There's much which is unspoken. There's much insight that we have, all of us here, which has been unspoken, and that each of us here have some special insight which may be not written really anywhere. All of us. No, sunlight is full spectrum light, but this is not really. Yeah, right. This has only got like one band, and that creates deficiency. If I didn't have just that one band, there would not be a deficiency, because it doesn't exist in nature, that one band. When you bring something in that doesn't exist in nature, it causes deficiency. We should absolutely be, if you've got lighting in your home, go ahead, get full spectrum. They last much longer, and you'll be so amazed at the colour that it brings out, and this is a food for us. Okay, how are we doing, by the way? We've got like maybe 15 more minutes. I really want to... Yes? We've got 5 minutes? Okay. No. That will help alkalize the body, believe it or not. It will help clear away the bad intestinal flora, because only friendly intestinal flora can exist under this state. And as a result of this, the person's pH can come back more into balance. That happens as a result of the food breaking down into friendly bacteria, actually. So there's no excuse. I need to eat the right foods and things. But no matter what the situation, my urine can help me heal wherever I am. It can help me discover that I need to do things that maybe make my urine taste a bit better. A lot of things like this. It is amazing that when the very first time that a person did an enema, they learned a lot. They went, oh my God, look, that wasn't even chewed. It just went straight through, right? There's such discovery in things. We risk dehydration when we drink water. We risk dehydration. Many people are drinking excessively and they have dehydrated their body. They have washed the hydrotropic elements out. When you bring in your own urine is and has enormous amount of hydrotropic elements in it to help bind moisture to the protein of your cells. When you drink tap water, that is poison in comparison. That is not hydrophilic. It's hydrostatic quite a bit. You know, it's not really able to be miscible with the tissues of our body and the proteins of our body until we structure the water. Once we structure it, it's in our blood, and that's what urine is. Urine is purified blood. Is it making sense? Sprouts, yes, they're drugs. They're drugs. They're drugs. All of those sprouts leave acid residues in the body. They will not grow in nature. All the things you have seeds at home, not a single one of them can be found growing wild in nature anywhere. Why? Because mold and fungus in yeast would overcome them as seedlings. They just do not have the electrical force to sustain themselves. You know, down here at they're only starting to wake up about carrot juice. I've been telling them about carrot juice and their sprouts and stuff, and they felt like I was very arrogant telling them about this, but I say, you've got a fine program, but you're bringing in a lot of junk still, you know, and then down in Hippocrates Institute and these places like that, they're starting to wake up. Actually, the last show that we did in town here, one of their chief people started to come before the people and started to say, oops, carrot juice may not be so good. The penny is starting to drop. A lot of that stuff is not right. And the sprouts also, it's acidic and acidifying the body, and most people's tissue is way acidic, too acidic already. And it just deposits more acids in the body, clumps the blood and things. I'm a very physically active person. I can lift thousands and thousands of pounds in a day in a short period of time, and I can walk 100 miles like that. And I regularly do 27 miles, regularly. I jog, I do yoga, mostly I do some yoga. I do some weight supportive stuff at home. I'm always doing some various weight supportive stuff at home, like yoga. I'm a very physically active person.
How would you accommodate this kind of thought for an cereal?
Yes, bad news. No, we teach the mothers and fathers in our family, we teach them to feed the kids. We teach them how to make milks and things, like real milk. Yes, real milk, not out of a packet that is dead, and that will take that child's brain, and that will cause that child not to live to her full or his full potential. Soy product clumps blood. That's a drug. All except for lecithin, that's a defatted soy oil. Most products that come from lecithin is a drug. It could be an isolate if it's a pharmaceutical. And if it's a soy isolate, it's extremely excitotoxic. It will cause brain cell death, which it does in the hippocampus and the hypothalamus of the brain. It clumps the blood. There is enzyme inhibitors in those legumes which are not broken down in all the heat that those beans are put through. It does not break the enzyme inhibitors down. It's a congealed, coagulated, enzyme-resistant, ashen protein, which is a poison, an absolute poison. And everybody who does soy, their blood is clumped, and their blood is not flowing properly.
What about sprouted soy?
If you sprouted that bean, it's going to make it less acidic, but it's going to still be an acid.
But it does have hormones.
Right. Okay. That's a good question. The statement is, well, if we sprouted that bean, the enzyme inhibitors would no longer be present. That's correct. That would be one good thing, but the rest of it still would be there, right? So those enzyme inhibitors are not broken down at all in the cooking, in the boiling, and the enormous amount of heat that soy goes through. And the only way that it could be broken down is if it went through its sprouting process, then the enzyme inhibitors would be released. Okay.
That would have to be your last question.
Thanks, Todd.
Richard, I can't thank you for anything, but ladies and gentlemen, we have a booth website and all their products. He has a tremendous line of products inside. I don't know if he'd be available for consultations or anything, David.
Yeah.
We're going to have David available for personal consultations if you want. Again, I want to quote Winston Churchill, never give up. It's a tremendous advice. There are a lot of new concepts, no flesh, no starch, no cooked foods, and it takes a while to inculcate that, but don't, just stay open and give it a chance. That's all I can tell you. We're all battling health issues, and a gentleman like this, and Doug Lee, who was going to speak next week, right behind him, I'm just so glad that these two met and share ideas. But one thing I'd like